You're listening to the Bluegrass Jamboree, playing the best in bluegrass, bluegrass gospel, and traditional country. TheBluegrassJamboree.com.
And if you're just tuning in, you're listening to Bluegrass Retrospect, featuring the finest in bluegrass music. I'm your host, Brett Smeltzer, broadcasting from Charlestown, West Virginia. And with me on the phone are my special guests and featured artists. Out of Northern Virginia, it's Karma Creak, and they are all with me on the phone to talk about their latest self-titled EP. Jackie, Thomas, Chris, and Will, welcome to Bluegrass Retrospect here on the BluegrassJamboree.com.
Hey, Brett, thanks so much for having us.
Well, I certainly do appreciate you folks being able to talk about this EP. Where did the name Karma Creak, and it has a different spelling than probably folks are visualizing that other than how it's posted on Facebook. How did that band name come about?
I can start that story. This is Thomas. I play banjo, and Chris, the mandolin player, we worked together and we were jamming at our workplace at Woodgrove High School in Purcellville, Virginia. And when we decided that we wanted to start playing around and having a band, pretty much our biggest qualifier when we were thinking of a band name was we wanted to have a band name and not have I think we used the phrase like trying to appropriate working class valor, or maybe that was my term that I used. Okay. I didn't want like the old hard working boys or something like that, because I mean we were hard working boys, but we're not boys, and we're decidedly white collar folks. We're professional educators, so we wanted something that had kind of that feel to it. And we were bandying about some names, and Chris had the name Karma Creak, just spelled like a geographical thing. And my only contribution was to suggest we change Creek to spell it like Creek, the sound. Did I capture the spirit of that, Looney? Did I get Chris Looney?
Yeah. This is Chris. So I play mandolin. I always liked, like these kind of geographical names, and I liked the alliteration of Karma Creek. And of course, Thomas is an English teacher. And so he had to do a little clever thing with the English language to throw that A in there. At first, I didn't like it, but you know what? I was like, actually, you know what? It stuck. I like it. I like this. I like the idea of the sound that it illustrates.
Yeah, it's a little self-effacing as well.
Well, I'm actually in the band Stony Creek, but it's a typical spelling, Creek. So if we're ever at a festival, it might be a river fest.
That's right. And then you got Boone Creek. You got Boone Creek
yes,
as well with Ricky Skaggs.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. May I suggest to add an A to your name, sir?
Yeah.
How long's the band been together?
Not that long. Well, I'll say what I know, and then Thomas and Looney and Will, you can add on to it. 2 Christmases ago, Thomas decided to get a banjo. He's a guitar player, and he wanted to branch out. Or I think it was Looney, so Chris Looney, the mandolin player, encouraged him to get a banjo so they could jam at school together. He gets a banjo, and then the house has never been quiet again. It's been constant banjo playing. Then he asked my husband, Thomas and I are married, by the way. Okay. He asked me to start playing and singing with him. And
happily married.
Yeah.
There you go.
Then we all 3 started playing, and actually at the beginning of this school year, I was rehired to go back to Loudoun County Public Schools. I had worked there previously, and I stood in front of the entirety of the music department looking for a bass player. We had to introduce ourselves, say a fun fact, and then I also added we needed a bass player. And a few weeks later, I think Will emailed us saying that he was interested. So really, we've only been together as a group of us since the beginning of the school year. Wow.
You pitched an ad during your introduction. That was clever.
Well, I introduced, most people already knew me, so I didn't have to talk very much. I just said, hi, Jackie Scott. I'm coming back to Loudoun County. My fun fact is that I'm starting a bluegrass band, and I also need a bass player. And I figured if there was a place to find it, it might be in that room, a concentrated auditorium full of musicians.
Gotcha.
So.
Yeah, and this is Will. So I was sitting in that room, and I'm also similar to Thomas. Like I generally play more guitar. I have played bass for a long time, but it's usually secondary instrument, and I've been looking for opportunities to do more bass. And I heard this call, almost like fate. And I had like another theater friend who worked at that school, and she got me in touch, and then I started jamming with them, and we've been having a lot of fun and working harmonies in there now, and it's all gelling together really well.
This is Chris, and then it was really cool when Will joined, like our first practice together. we started just kind of like feeling each other out, name dropping, we all live in the same area. So we're trying to feel who's friends with who, and found out that Will was in the band that my wife and I hired for our wedding reception, like about 10 years ago. So it's kind of a cool, like, full circle to have Will come join our band.
Yeah, and further proving just how small the bluegrass community and music community in this area really is, because that was definitely a small world type event, one of many.
Well, I too work for Loudoun County Schools. I'm in the facility service. So I'm going to begin with crediting the two secretaries at Emmerich Elementary School, where Jackie is a music teacher. And we just got talking, and I think they knew from the past that I played bluegrass. They knew I did a radio show, but neither one of them are interested in tuning in. And I'm just going to say that out of fairness. I mean, to each their own. You don't have to like bluegrass music. But it was funny that this year, now I've been down there almost 30 years, I'm into my 29th, going into my 29th year. And no sooner than I got mentioning about the show, one of them said, well, we got a music teacher here that plays bluegrass music. In fact, she's got a band. And all of a sudden, just ding, 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 ding. I mean, and the bells are on. I said, where can I find her? Where can I find her? Because the reason is because if you listen to my broadcast, even though it is Bluegrass or Retrospect, I know a lot of people get kind of thrown off. Well, how do you consider your show Retrospect when you're playing today's stuff? And I don't dig way back into the vault. I'm playing music that influenced me when I was in it in the early 80s and into the 90s. So then when I came on board, there's plenty of area musicians and bands. They're established bands. They have CDs. And my theme was to come in. And as part of my show, I wanted to give those folks exposure because their music is just, in my book, their music is just as worthy to be heard as the mainstream artists that are out there on record labels. So when I was talking with Jackie, you folks did not have a CD because I was interested in putting your music on the radio. And it wasn't but just a few weeks ago that she reached out to me to let me know that you guys actually have a CD or a CD in the works, but right now you have an EP. So immediately I'm like, oh my gosh, send that to me. I will gladly add you folks in rotation on my Friday night shows.
We appreciate it a lot.
Yes, sir. But there are other schools that I go into, and you'd be surprised at the ones that I find out that they too, they're either solo artists or they play as a duo or a trio, or they actually have a band. And a lot of them play at venues that are just close to the Hillsboro area and all. And I'm like, man, I got to get over there and catch you guys because I'm a supporter of the music as well. So, we hit this off as far as talking bluegrass. I gave her a business card, and here we are today talking about your album. If I may ask about this, how soon are you looking at making the completion of the album?
Well, the interesting thing is we have a lot of dates coming up throughout the spring, and they're starting to pile up in the summer as well. Mm-hmm. So our plan is we want to really spend a lot of time playing together as much as possible before we really get back to fully record something full length. We had a really great experience recording the 6-song EP, mm-hmm. and we went into the recording session not even planning on it being an EP. We didn't plan on it being 6 songs. We went in thinking it would be 3 songs, and we'd be lucky if we got 3 that were, good enough and we were happy enough with to put out. And it was going so well, and we still had time scheduled, and we just kept going. So we're hoping to have that same experience, but we're also given our we have what? How many kids between the 4 of us do we have?
Oh, my.
Like 9?
7.
Yeah, 7. So between our busy family lives and then the dates that we're going to play, I think we want to have a lot of experience playing together and really hopefully record as tight as possible an album, and hopefully also have a lot of originals on it as well. So
Gotcha.
The short answer to that question would be hopefully around the time the school year begins in the fall, we'll hopefully get back in the studio is what our goal would be, with a lot of originals to go along with
Gotcha.
Some of the other stuff we've been working on as well. Right. We all write and we play our songs together and make revisions and continue working on them. And yes, I think I speak for all of us when I say we'd really hope that a full-length album would be much heavier on the original material.
Sure.
Because you want to add your contributions, the bluegrass idiom and your own interpretation of it. And I think we have some good songs as well. Our EP only has 1 original song on it. We were happy with with how that turned out as well. And we appreciate you playing those songs for us.
My pleasure. If I may ask, we're not actually airing this song this evening as part of this Spotlight segment, but who is French in the band or who speaks fluent French? And I'm not even going to go there with trying to pronounce this because the only French I know is toast, fries, dressing, and Pepe Le Pew.
Well, I once had like a 3-month streak on Duolingo for French, and that's as far as I got. Edith Fife had a little moment on TikTok maybe about 6 months ago where a different song of hers became famous, but I started listening to her on Spotify, and she is not bluegrass in the slightest, but I brought the idea to the band, and we ran with it, and they were amenable to my crazy suggestion, and people seem to like it when we play it at shows, so we figured we would record it.
Nice.
It is a cover of an Edith Fife song, 1920s, 1930s.
And how would you say this title?
Non je regrette rien.
Gotcha.
No regrets is basically what it translates.
Oh, is that what it is? On my download, it's no regrets. It doesn't say.
Yeah.
And I was trying to sit there looking. I thought, wait a minute, where's no regrets on this album? I don't see it. So I'm trying to compare notes here. But
I sent the CD to my dad, and my dad didn't know that song was going to be on it. And I talked to him like the next week, and he's like, yeah, there's one song. Something was going on with that. I didn't even sound like English on that track. He's like, I liked everything on that, but there was one song. I don't know what was even going on. But when we play it live, by far, if people aren't paying attention, or if it's a brewery gig, or if it's somewhere where you don't always have everybody's in it, that one is kind of a head turner, and everybody always enjoys it a lot. It's just one of those tunes that Jackie does a beautiful job singing it, and we have, I think, an interesting arrangement of it. And I do think it is kind of popular, weirdly. I've played it for my own students in my classroom, and there's like some god-awful like DreamWorks animated movie like Sing or something like that where it's featured briefly in it, so the kids like, oh, that's the song that the pig sings or whatever. So I think there, it has its place in like American pop culture as well, weirdly. And yeah, it's very fun to put our own spin on it.
Well, dare to be different. I mean, if it's turning heads, keep it up. Let's talk about one of the tracks that is on this EP, and that is Some Old Day. What inspired you to want to put this song on here?
I think it started, in my opinion, the definitive recording of it is the one on 0044, J.D. Crowe and the New South, though it has the luscious, most beautiful harmonies, and just the arrangement of it makes your hair stand up on your on your arms when you listen to it. And I played it one night for Jackie, and we just started. Sometimes we'll just like play a song and start singing it and trying to replicate some of the harmonies, and we were really appreciating just everything about it. And we got pretty good, the two of us, with the harmony, and we started playing it with Looney and Will, and it just really fell in together. And there's also, I think, something to be said for Jackie singing the lead vocals on it. The speaker of the song is definitely, it's not sung from a female perspective, so I think that there's an interesting twist to that as well when it's sung from her perspective. But mostly it's just because it sounds so stinking good. It's such a fun song to play and to sing.
If I may add, when I first heard the song, and Jos van der Lille actually, I believe, was airing this song a few weeks ago. Have you ever heard of AJ Lee?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
She and Molly Tuttle years ago, it used to be the Tuttles with AJ Lee. This was years ago. She's still out there recording and out there performing. At first, I thought it was AJ Lee. So that's a compliment.
Oh yeah. Oh, Jackie can cut it with anybody, man.
Yeah, man. It sounded great. I'm looking forward to, if you folks ever do a performance at Emmerich Elementary School, I'm going to ask the kitchen staff to break something so I can be there. Because the kitchen's right outside of the door of the auditorium, so I definitely want to. I could turn a wrench and listen at the same
every
time.
day. We'll make it happen.
This is Chris. It's funny
Yes,
you said that about AJ Lee, because when we have our EP on Spotify, and the first time I listened to it through, you listen to the 6 songs, and when it's over, it doesn't stop. Spotify just decides what you should hear next.
Yes.
And I was kind of like, oh man, what are they going to play? Is it going to be awful? It's going to be good. And it was a AJ Lee song, so I was like, all right, this is cool. I'm glad they appreciate it.
Well, I'm going to say this because at first I thought, oh, there's no way I can air this song. I was listening to Spotify going down the road. And then all of a sudden there's another song that comes up. And of course I wasn't paying attention. I didn't have the CD at the time. I'm just going by what you have on Spotify. But there was this one song, and a friend of mine that tunes in, he got the CD too. I said, now listen, I don't know. I might have to talk to them about this, but it wasn't you guys, but it was another female singer, but it was something. And I thought, this is not getting airplay on the Bluegrass Jamboree, but it was like, la, na, 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 na. Hey man, do you want to get, and I thought, oh, that will not, because we have young listeners here. There's no way that's going to work. And I thought, well, I'm going to have to find out what song that is so that doesn't accidentally go up into the queue and starts playing. So, but I don't know if it was AJ Lee, but I'm thankful to know it wasn't Jackie Scott either. Let's go on ahead and play this first track that's from your EP. Again, this is Karma Creak out of Northern Virginia. And these are all teachers with Loudoun County Public Schools. And we'll talk more about that later. Right now, let's hear their fine rendition of Some Old Day. And it's heard right here on the BluegrassJamboree.com.
I've been working out in the rain, tied to the dirty old ball and chain. Oh dear mother, I'll come home some old day. Some sweet day they'll turn me loose from this dirty old calaboose. Oh dear mother, I'll come home some old day. Some old day. Some old day, some sweet day they'll turn me loose from this dirty old calaboose. Oh dear mother, I'll come home some old day.
We are back, and once again, if you are just tuning in, you're listening to Bluegrass Retrospect, featuring the finest in bluegrass music. I'm your host, Brett Smeltzer, broadcasting from Charlestown, West Virginia. And with me on the phone are some folks that aren't that far away from me. They are just across the county line here into Virginia, and it is the entire band of Karma Creak out of Northern Virginia, and they're here to discuss with me the EP of their self-titled album. And we're going to continue on this conversation with Jackie Scott, Thomas Scott, Chris Looney, and Will Spaulding. Jackie, what actually got you into playing music?
I don't remember a time where I wasn't playing some sort of music. There was a piano in our house growing up, and even I got piano lessons briefly, but I remember just sitting in front of the piano playing it, not knowing what I was doing, but just experimenting. Then when I was in elementary school, I was in the choir, and I started playing flute at that time. And I never stopped flute. I continued with flute, and then college was a music ed major, continued playing flute. And somewhere along the line, in the middle of high school, I also picked up guitar. But if someone were to ask me, what's your instrument? Up until a few years ago, I would have still said flute. And then, of course, in college, you have to take class piano. And now, honestly, the instrument that I play the most day to day is piano because I play that at school all day. And also in college, I was a singer, songwriter, performer. I had an album of my own then, and I was really inspired by it. There's a local musician named Devin Sproul out of Charlottesville. And she's not bluegrass, but definitely like folk alternative. And that was definitely the genre that I was working in at the time. But I've always been, I don't know, I was not a cool middle schooler. I was like listening to Nora Jones and Alison Krauss and 90s country when I was growing up. So I've always been on like the fringe of it somewhere. And I didn't really get into bluegrass until Thomas pulled me in.
I was a cool middle schooler. I actually peaked in middle school.
There's a fiddle in your class. Do you play that as well, Jackie?
Some years. So I do something called recorder karate with my 3rd and 4th grade. And when they're learning a new instrument, I will also learn with them on a new instrument. I have a bunch of random instruments to demonstrate to the kids. So I pulled that violin, the fiddle out. And so now I'm learning fiddle, just very simple melodies on it, to demonstrate, like, even though I've been a music teacher for a long time, you can still pick up something new and still expand your mind, and not everything's easy all the time, and it's okay to struggle sometimes, and show them that. And so that's why I have the fiddle out. And also so I can maybe one day become a better fiddle player. We'll see.
Thomas, you were saying something.
You were saying how cool he was in middle school.
Yeah, to continue like kind of our origins into this, I started playing guitar in middle school. I grew up in Central Virginia in Cumberland County near Farmville, Virginia. I grew up on a farm, and it's ironic that the area I lived was very steeped in bluegrass, and I didn't really have much interest in it, even though, and there's a lot of history in that area in bluegrass, like Flat and Scruggs in Crew, Virginia at one point had a gig at a radio station there that was like a daily thing. But anyway, I didn't get into bluegrass until maybe I was in college, and I really got into Jimmy Martin.
Oh, wow.
And
good
he's
stuff.
kind of probably still one of my favorites, just his personality and the way he sings and the way he just carries himself as a musician. It's just so. I also really enjoy anything that's kind of fast and aggressive, and there's something almost punk about bluegrass, and especially some of the characters and the way that they carry themselves through the genre. So yeah, but I played guitar and played in bands all through high school and college. You know, Jackie and I, when we met and married, we would play music together a little bit, but our interests were quite different in musical genres. And it really wasn't until we started doing this that we started wholesale, like spending a lot of time together singing and playing music. That's all thanks to getting hired at Woodgrove, which happened to me 3 years ago. And that's where I met Looney, who's in the science department, and I'm in the English department. And he's the one who convinced me to get a banjo. I had wanted a banjo many years ago. I think I remember asking Jackie about it. And Jackie was always, I think she just knew what she was getting into. It's like, you know, I think she could foresee what would happen, and she held off as long as she could. And, you know, she's just kind of living with her decisions now.
I had an interest in banjo, but they're so daggone heavy.
Yes,
those
they
things
are.
will
Yeah.
take your shoulder out. Oh my gosh.
Yes, they will. Especially if they're good and expensitive. Like
Sure.
if the nice ones are heavy. I've got one at school that's like made out of carbon fiber. Like I bought $100 in a CVS parking lot. That doesn't weigh anything. But yeah, you're right. You have to have good back support with the strap. I love playing banjo, and that's really what 99% of the time, if I'm playing an instrument practicing, it's banjo. I have one at home that I play, and I actually have multiple banjos at school in the classroom, much to the delight of my students and my coworkers.
And which room you're in? I need to swing by.
Oh, okay. I'm in room 605.
Okay.
Top floor. If it's in the afternoon after the bell rings, you can kind of follow. You can hear where Looney and I are jamming, because we always have a little afternoon jam.
All right.
You'll hear his mandolin and my banjo coming through the hallways upstairs.
Okay. Well, my GPS, if my boss is looking for me, they'll say, "What's he doing in room 605?"
This is Chris here. I
Yes,
think maybe my greatest contribution to the band is convincing Thomas to get a banjo. It made his marriage stronger. Well, we were playing. It was 2 Christmases ago, and I think I had come within the idea of, hey, let's work on some Christmas songs. And, before the kids leave for break, let's go into the foyer and just, kind of, as the kids are walking into school, let's just play some Christmas songs. I think that'd be fun. We struck a quick friendship with that. And I was over at their house, and I don't know, I can't remember how the banjo came into it, but I was like, yeah, you should get a banjo, Thomas. And he was like, I know, I've been looking at one. I was like, have you told Jackie yet? He's like, no. And I said, Thomas, you got to tell Jackie. He's like, well, there's one in the shop down the road. And I was like, you're going to get that banjo, Thomas, So he's taken it to a grade. It's been a lot of fun playing with him and Jackie and Will. And yeah, he's taken to it really nicely.
So did Thomas tell Jackie after the fact or before getting a banjo?
I sat her down and I said, there comes a time in a man's life when he just needs to make that decision.
No, I am not. He just told me it was happening. There was no approval.
No, I definitely, I did kind of, I did not make it like, hey, this is happening, you're just going to have to deal with it. I said, I know you haven't been the biggest fan of it. I know they can be, just startlingly loud. And the thought of somebody learning one in your house while we also have 2 young boys who are not by any means quiet as well. And Jackie, by the way, is also completely deaf in one ear. So, like,
not
hearing.
completely, but yet mostly deaf.
See, I think that helps, maybe.
Yeah.
Well, I tried that This Is How It Is at home, but I was sitting in the driveway with the engine running in reverse, and the wife was asleep. But it sounded good. She just didn't hear it. All right. How about you, Will?
Well, yeah. Similar to everybody else, like I've been playing music my whole life. A lot of different instruments. I've bounced around. I think primarily guitar is my main instrument, but I also play the Irish whistle. I'm playing some Irish gigs this weekend and playing on that. And I'm kind of trying to relearn the fiddle. And anyways, the bass is something I've been playing primarily throughout college, but I didn't really grow up playing bluegrass. It was not really in my area. I was growing up in down southeastern Virginia, down in Hampton. Anyways, I sort of got into Bela Fleck in high school, and then that led me towards John Hartford, and that led me towards Watermelon Park Fest, and going to that a bunch and just kind of getting immersed in the local bluegrass scene made me sort of fall in love with that, not only that style of music, but the community around it. And through it, I just keep meeting all sorts of fun musicians in this area. It's been really, really awesome linking up with Chris and Jackie and Thomas, because we're really gelling well, and it's nice to have more of this music happening in this region.
Now, you mentioned Irish music. Are there any plans of any Irish tunes on this upcoming album?
Well,
not this album. As early as this Sunday, Jackie was talking about doing, what's that song, Ramblin' Bog? What is it?
Rattling Bog.
Rattling Bog,
It's
yeah.
a song I do with my students, and it's a lot of fun. And it's something that we could do as a band.
Just a thought. Just wondering if that's something that you'll add for those that are listening or those that will be purchasing your CDs. Let me back up one time. As far as both Thomas and Chris at Wood Grove High School, when you're playing, do you have any students take interest in what you're playing and it inspires them to want to pick up an instrument and get into bluegrass music, or at least play the mandolin or play the banjo?
Yeah, this is Chris. Whenever I picked the mandolin, most kids haven't really seen what a mandolin is. And then when I start playing it, they're like, what's the sound you're making?
Right.
So I think so. Like, the kids are pretty interested in it. We both have record collections that I think we play for the kids sometimes. But yeah, there's kids interested in it. We started a club this year where we want to play bluegrass music, but we didn't want to use that word bluegrass. We kind of we're sneaking it in, so we called it the acoustic jam. To anyone with an acoustic instrument wants to come play during our club time. It's almost like a big circle, and people get to pick their songs, and I'll play along. And it's a real friendly environment. It's been a lot of fun this year.
Right. If you could throw familiar pop songs at them, bluegrass. The cool thing about bluegrass, I mean, this is going back to as far as numerous artists that play covers of Beatles songs. Alan Bybee in Grasstown did a cover of Supertramp, Long Way Home. It'll blow you away. Iron Horse. You should hear all the covers of classic rock like Styx and Jimi Hendrix. Same lyrics, same chord progression, but it doesn't take you that far out to where it's like, I don't even recognize the song. It just blows you away of what you can actually do with bluegrass music. Alison Krauss even did it with I Will by the Beatles. I mean, for some odd reason, we're making that move to covering classic rock songs or songs of the 80s and the 90s. And you throw something by Soundgarden at these folks, they might take an interest.
Jackie gave us a cover idea, and when she first came up with it, we're like, what do you mean? But it's the crowd favorite.
Yeah.
Everyone perks up. Everyone gets their phones out and starts recording. What's that song, Jackie?
It's a Chapel Roan song, and she came out with a new song today that we might have to cover as well, guys. Just FYI. But the song is called Red Wine Supernova that we've been playing, and it's a hit.
Well,
Bill Monroe would not approve of that song.
It has evolved since the 1940s. Chris?
This is Chris. I started out playing bass guitar in middle school and high school. I was kind of trained into jazz. I had a lot of bands in high school, some friends. It wasn't, I think it was really late in high school. I was in a music shop in some random store, just out on the day with friends, and I saw a mandolin hanging up on the wall. And something just kind of grabbed me. It was like a really kind of crappy Rogue mandolin, probably paid like $50 for it. But something just kind of grabbed me. I think maybe because it had 4 strings, just like my bass guitar does. Now, of course, the strings are double course. But and I really like the challenge because I like the challenge of learning the mandolin because it was almost like a mirror image of how the bass, just because of the different tunings. But I mostly played bass, and then I went to college in the College of Charleston in South Carolina, and everyone lives in these really cool old houses down there, but there's so many stairs. And I had a new friend that lived like a few flights up, and musically we loved the same. We were playing, like John Prine, Townes Van Zandt, kind of Josh Ritter stuff.
Oh yeah.
And I got so tired of lugging on my bass. One day I was like, hey, let me just grab my mandolin instead, and flew up the flight of stairs with it. And the rest is history. And I haven't really picked up the bass much since then. In Charleston, I got hooked on some old time music. Ivy and Davis Shepard had a really cool music shop there, and they've since moved on to North Carolina. But they took a lot of musicians and my friends under their wing, and kind of taught us some old time songs and that tradition. And I've been playing mandolin a lot over the years since then. It hasn't really been probably the past year and a half is when the bug has really hit me, and I feel like I play mandolin any chance I get now.
It's a pretty cool instrument. Our bass player will once in a while, she'll say, here, hold this. And I stand beside of her when we're on stage. And I want to tell you, and nothing against anybody who plays bass, but it's like holding the broad end of a Louisville Slugger. I mean, it is thick. I don't know how anybody plays that without developing arthritis or something.
This is Will. It's an intimidating instrument, and when I did play it in college, and I actually stopped playing it because I felt like it was like physically hurting my hands. Mm-hmm. And it took me a couple of years until I reapproached it and realized I was playing it wrong. And the physicality behind it is definitely like a full body experience. So you do sort of have to get in shape to play it right. But once you do, it's a fun instrument to play.
Let's ask one more question. Right now, the EP, you're just self-titled. Do you have plans of a album title once your album is complete?
I think we'll probably look at the songs we have and pick what we feel like is the strongest and most thematically appropriate song title of all those. We took our visual inspiration for the album cover from the Johnson Mountain Boys. And I think Looney and Will Woodard and Jackie would agree. They have a good mix of being artistically tasteful. And I like bands that pick a song title to represent their entire album as kind of a thematic statement, like Let the Whole World Talk, right, or Working Close and things of that nature. So, again, we're kind of equivocating here because we don't have a full answer, definitive answer for you. But I've always enjoyed bands that do something like that pick a song that kind of represents what they're looking for in that one album, what the experience will be for the listener.
A title track, in other words?
Yes, sir.
Okay, gotcha. Let's move on and talk about Get Me to the Church on Time. Was it a Broadway musical?
It started on Broadway, and then they made it into a feature-length film in '63, I think, with old Rex Harrison and Hepburn.
Yes. Yep.
And Jackie and I watched it over the summer while we were visiting my brother in Iowa. And we were driving around the next day, and I started I started playing in the car Frank Sinatra's version he does at the Sands. It's just a fun, bouncy, it has a lot, a beautiful melody that you can mess with. It's an enjoyable tune, so we started trying it out with the band, and it kind of clicked, and we also liked how divergent it was from the traditional bluegrass repertoire. So when we were thinking about stuff that could kind of showcase what we were, we decided to give that one a try, and we think Jackie does a good job of singing it.
Okay, and who's singing with Jackie on this one?
This one is just Jackie.
Yeah, that one's just me.
I stand corrected. Sorry about that. So, okay.
I make a little spirited whoop at the end of it. That's
it.
That's my vocal contribution.
So everyone listen for the whoop.
Let's go ahead and air Get Me Through the Church on Time from the Broadway production, as well as the movie My Fair Lady. You're saying back in 1963. I'll have to jot that down. From Karma Creak out of Northern Virginia, and this is from their 2025 debut EP and forthcoming CD, and it's heard right here on the bluegrassjamboree.com.
I'm getting married in the morning. Ding dong, the bells are gonna chime. Pull out the stopper, we'll have a whopper, then get me to the church on time. I gotta get there in the morning, spruced up and looking in my pride. Girls, come and kiss me, say that you'll miss me, and then get me to the church on time. If I am dancing, roll up the floor. If I am whistling, out the door. I gotta get there in the morning. Ding, ding, dong, they're gonna try. Kick up a rumpus, don't lose your compass. Get me to the church, get me to the church. For Pete's sakes, get me to the church on time. If I am dancing, roll up the floor. If I am whistling, out the door. I gotta get there in the morning. Ding, ding, dong, they're gonna try. Kick up a rumpus, don't lose your compass. Get me to the church, get me to the church. For Pete's sakes, get me to the church on time.
And if you're just tuning in, once again, you're listening to Bluegrass Retrospect, featuring the finest in bluegrass music. And we are continuing this artist spotlight with my special guest, Karma Creak out of Northern Virginia. And we have the entire band on the phone, folks, talking with me about this current EP and a forthcoming CD. I've seen recently on your website that you actually have hard copies available. But for those that would like to do a digital download, where can you direct the folks, as well as how do they acquire one of your hard copies?
Well, those physical copies are going to become collector's items pretty soon. We only did a run of only a few hundred, and between us at our respective workplaces, a lot of people have wanted to have their copies of it. And it has a commemorative different color scheme to the album cover, so it's pretty cool looking. I have maybe 20 or 30 left. If you wanted to reach out to me on Facebook, I would be happy to mail somebody a copy if they wanted it. But if they just want to get a digital copy, we're all over the internet on Spotify and Amazon and Apple Music as well. Okay. There's some streaming service I'd never even heard of that I was cracking up that we were on, like Zerg or something like that. It starts with a Z. Maybe it's the one that Jay-Z owns. We used a good distribution service that's got us on all those platforms. And yeah, we appreciate anybody taking the time to listen to us. And if they enjoy having a CD, or if they prefer it that way, I'm happy to give out CDs up until I run out.
As far as maybe getting one from you at a live performance, where could the folks find you as far as venues that you're going to be playing this spring and summer?
You can find us, well, this Sunday, but our big show coming up is going to be next Friday evening in Hillsborough at the old schoolhouse there. And then the final weekend in March on the 29th, we're going to be playing around Luckett's at Vanish. And we're going to be playing at Vanish a couple times, actually. We'll be playing there again on April 13th, and also on April 11th, we'll be at Wheatland Springs Brewery near Lovettsville, as well June 7th in Hillsborough as well at the Appalachian Trail Fest.
Now, all this information, what website do they visit?
We're on Instagram and Facebook. So I run the Instagram. Jackie and Looney run the Facebook. So you get kind of a different experience depending on which you follow.
Try them both.
Yeah, try them both and see which one suits you. I think we're both karma.creak on Facebook and Instagram. On Instagram, it's at karma.creak. Creak spelled with an A, like the creak of a door closing. Give us a follow, but it's mostly the same information. We sometimes go about different ways of disseminating it. I sometimes get my students involved in promotion and making promotional materials and things like that for me as needed. But yeah, that's where everything is. We post pretty frequently updates about performances and videos of us playing. Okay. And we love interacting with folks in the area and also from around the world. It's been so fun ever since we've gotten some radio play from the EP from folks like you, getting contacted by people we don't know, talking to us about our music. And that's been such a treat. It's been very fun. Bluegrass is such a inviting and accepting and close-knit community, and it's been fun to see how global it is.
Let me back up a little bit. You're playing when? Next Friday in Hillsborough?
Yeah, that's correct.
The Old Stone School?
Yeah, the Old Stone School.
What time?
It's a music series that the town is pretty new. They have a music series every Friday night in the summertime. They have free live music with food trucks and beer. Come on out. It's always a great band in the summertime. And since it's been so successful, they've started to make kind of, I guess, late winter. So there's 4 dates in March now. I'm actually at the Old Stone School now, seeing the band called the Shade Tree Collective. They're playing just underneath me. It's a great venue, great sound. A lot of local flavor. Come on out. We'd love to see you.
In the evening?
Evening, yes. Doors open at 6 and we play at 7.
Okay, I'm canceling my show. I'll be there. Actually, I need to find a Saturday when you guys are playing, or maybe I need to cancel my show and just come out and see you guys.
We just need to book a gig together. That's what we really need.
Oh, yeah. Wouldn't that be cool?
Yeah, we can open for you.
Are you playing inside, or I noticed they have a stage that's built outside. Is that where most of the bands play, or is it inside?
In
or does
Hillsborough,
it depend?
for this series, it's inside.
Okay.
For the summertime, unless it's, thunderstorms happening,
sure.
It's on the outside stage.
I got you. Let's talk about one more track from this album, Wilhelmina. Could you explain that to me and the listeners? And this isn't the original song, is it?
This is the original.
This
Good
is
deal.
the original.
All right. Written by?
Jackie and I wrote this one, and it was kind of written in one night, and we were working late at night and just kind of bouncing ideas off of each other, and it was just a very productive session of playing around with some different ideas. And what's kind of unique about it is it's a blues, but it's, as opposed to a 12-bar blues, it's a 15-bar blues. So it has some really cricket parts to it.
Gotcha.
And I had been listening to a lot of Jimmy Rogers and some of like Blue Yodel No. 3, like Bill Monroe's version of that, and the Dreadful Snakes version of that, which I really loved. And I was just kind of feeling something like that. And then Jackie and I also started trying to incorporate some borderline dissonant harmonies.
Yeah, just the weirdest harmonies we can think of.
Trying to put I'm singing the 1 and she's singing the 2 over it, and just it kind of trying to see how far we could push that.
We happened to be sipping a little bit of Evan Williams, and I think I said to Thomas, like, what would the female version of Evan Williams' name be? And so Wilhelmina came to mind.
Wow.
And that's where we got the title and the concept of the song, really. And it also just sounded old-timey and odd, so it seemed like it would fit into a strange 15-bar blues with some weird dissonant harmonies.
Okay, and Evan Williams is...
Is it a whiskey or a bourbon? I don't even know.
It's both, Jackie. It's a bourbon whiskey.
Okay.
Wow, that's some pretty potent stuff.
And it's for the working class musician. It's for the teacher.
Wow. Wow.
And I don't think we've told this story, have we? Well, why not tell it on?
We're on public radio, so be careful. We're on public radio.
But yeah, that's the origins of it. And it was, like I said, a lot of times creatively, it can be really fun when you're bouncing ideas off one another and going back and forth. And they're not always that productive, but when they are, they're really fun. And we have a lot of fun playing it with the band. We're so happy to have gotten to talk to you about it, and we thank you for agreeing to have us on and play some of our songs, man.
Well, I was looking forward to it. It's not often that I get an entire band, and I have in the past. I mean, I've had up to 6 people on the phone. That was interesting, but it went over well. I was looking forward to this, looking forward to somewhere along the road I'll meet you guys. Like I said, I'm mainly working in the West End, but other times I am sent down toward the Leesburg area. If I'm in the area, I'll try to look you guys up. As I always say to all my artists and guests, I wish you all the best with the EP right now, as well as the forthcoming CD. Please keep us in mind and reach out to us when you have that completed, especially with some original material. We'd love to have you back on here and talk with you more. Maybe not myself, maybe one of the other DJs. I am seeing where it is getting spins on the Bluegrass Jamboree, and not just on Friday nights during my broadcasts. It's a great start with you guys. Again, I wish you all the best, and I wish you safe travels. And again, a pleasure having you part of Bluegrass Retrospect here on the BluegrassJamboree.com.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, sir.
We can't thank you enough. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks so much. It was fun.
Here's the original song by Jackie Scott, vocalist and guitarist out of Emmerich Elementary School. Here's Wilhelmina, and it's heard right here on the BluegrassJamboree.com. Thanks again, folks. I certainly do appreciate it.
Left my roses on the floor. Wilhelmina ate my outer and my core. I might know some sweet girls meaner. I love Wilhelmina more. Whoa, she's gone, and she's never coming back. She's never coming back. If you see my Wilhelmina, won't you tell me where she's at? Goes that train upon the track. Ooh, bring my Wilhelmina back. Well, I know her mother loves me, but she listened to her dad. Left my roses on the floor. Wilhelmina ate my outer and my core. I might know some sweet girls meaner. I love Wilhelmina more.
Tell a friend, tell a neighbor, click and listen. TheBluegrassJamboree.com. TheBluegrassJamboree.com.